coat.
Hey.
Track suit and me.
Uh-oh, here we go.
All of me girl.
And we back. You're in tune to another mix with your man.
Ooh, DJ Dobby.
And Purpose Pod, I am so happy to be back. It's been a rough month, but one of my best months. We'll get into that later. Let's get into our honored guest now. This lady is so gifted. She is a 3-time author, a certified life coach, a transformational speaker, a self-publishing consultant, a sales and marketing maven. Woo, here we go. And last but not least, the mother of 2, not 1, but 2 beautiful boys. Y'all please welcome Miss Tamieka Smith. Now, the Purpose Pod is hosted by, curated by Mr. Never Stop, Never Quit, Repeat, Mr. Alan Levi Simmons. Now, back to my little situation. So last month, the wife and I, we got into a fender bender, pretty bad accident, car flipped 3 times. Because of the accident, my wife had to go into an emergency C-section. Now we have our beautiful baby, Scarlett. So you guys, please make some notes. My wife as well as my baby, Scarlett. Shout out to Scarlett. We're going to get into the mix, no artist spotlight. This week, we're just going to jam out. Alan, I'm happy to be back. I'm just happy to be here. Hey, love the Purpose Pod. We're going to get into this mix with your man, DJ Dobby.
Ooh, DJ Dobby.
Here we go. Come on. Come on.
I got 30 on my wrist. I'm finna buy a limbo too.
Hey.
Limbo truck the rush because my juice fell out the coupe.
Purpose.
I see food.
Pod.
I just lost my roof.
Let's go.
I'm a hot head, bitch. I lose my cool. Police on my, I told them, do I no proof. Spent the block and rolled the window down. I air it on the truth. I'm in the strip, chorus. I'm in the rob. I'm in the rob. Yeah, I'm
Come on. Come on.
Hit up Jordan. Hit up Crank. You said. Still got the same 5 friends with me. It's against the party, let the F&N dance with me. They say how you got 2 phones and never answer me. I can take no L and I won't let you take no chance with me. Smoking stanky jangles, jangling. You thinking on that dark when I be drinking, we gon' violate. Need my Franklins, get it shaking. Not too patient, talk is cheap's an understatement.
Come on, Purpose Pod. Let's go.
You don't like it, take a hike, pay me for it.
Purpose
I'm a rich
Pod.
the attitude.
What up, Alan? I see you, boy. Miss Tamieka Smith, how you doing? All right. With that attitude, I'm gonna take you back right quick. You do it. We going back. We gonna take it back for a quick second. Snap your fingers. Uh-oh. What? They calling me.
Ooh, DJ Dobby.
Come on.
Out here very scary. They cuffing, they living in the month of February. Okay then, put a sister on display then. Kicking your door and have my folk to bring them K's in.
Hey, y'all remember? Y'all remember?
I see it ain't no about that for real.
That don't know about me. Y'all remember the A-Town stump?
Trunk to the left, I will go get it. And I ain't selfish, I will let.
What y'all know about the A-Town stump?
Won't catch me sipping, no Chris and got a cold feeling. It's Jean Blood's A-Town, all liquor sipping. Pumping straight from the gutter. Toe tag a mother, leave him under a cover. Lil John, he dropped the beat.
Come on, come on.
Sean Paul told the heat to make him mugged in sluggy.
If you don't give a, don't throw it up. What? Huh? What? 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 Don't start no. Don't start no. Let's go. Here we go. Let's switch it up. Let's switch it up. Let's go. Uh-oh. Hey, hey.
Girl, I'm mad.
Let's go.
Man, I that bad man. Are you me?
Purpose Pod.
Where's Panabay? Every man a day. Violate. Bullet in the head. Just touch down in the Babylon. Throw up on the sea. Don't lock it up, cause I want thing. Where's Panabay? Every man a day. Violate. Bullet in the head. Just touch down in the grab your neck pop, put your head down. Violate. When I bet y'all, when I take shot. Violate. Grab your neck pop, put your head down. Violate. When I bet y'all, when I take shot. Violate. Just touch down in the Just touchdown in the airport.
Hey.
Track suit and me.
Oh, here we go.
All of me gal them love me. All the wanna say me ugly. Just touchdown in the airport. Track suit and me Air Force. All of me gal them love me. All the wanna say me ugly. Just touchdown in the airport. Just touchdown in the airport. Just touchdown in the. Just touchdown in the. Just touchdown in the. Just touchdown in the airport. Track suit and me Air Force. All of me gal them love me. All the wanna say me ugly. She go spot me designer. She wanna give me the everything from London, Bond Street. Nothing.
Come on, Purpose Pod. Let's go.
Ooh, DJ Davi.
Can I get your number? Hey, hey, hey. Little Caribbean vibes. Come on. What? Come on.
Can I get your number, girl? Can I get your number, girl? Me, I wanna call you.
What?
656.
Come on.
547
Here we go. Uh-oh. Watch this. Watch this. Come on.
Caralho, essa aqui é foda, mano.
All right, let me mix it up. Let me mix it up. Here we go. Come on.
You know I'm mobbing with the D.O.E.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You know the West Coast is back for all you suckers. So put something in it. Put it in there. Yeah.
Purpose Pod.
Top dog, bite them all, yeah, I'm burning it up. DPG, think you should be turning it up. CBT, LBC, yeah, we hooking back up. And when they bang this in the club, baby, you got to get up. Cause homies, thug homies, yeah, they giving it up. Low life, yo life, boy, we living it up. Taking chances while we dancing in the party for show. Slip my girl a 44 when she crept in the back door. Chickens looking at me strange, but you know I don't care. Step up in this mother, just a swank in my hair. Trip, quit talking, crip walk, if you down with the set. Take a bullet with some grip and take the smoke on the
Let's go. Hey. Come on.
Yeah, me a familiar, Mr. Me Too.
What?
Girl, she Brazilian, Mr. Me Too.
Purpose.
She was from an alien, Mr. Me. Hey,
Pod.
yeah, redo, still play number 2.
DJ Davi.
Ooh, DJ Davi.
I like the you step fake. You a chat, but the money me a make.
Yo,
Them a fight,
Alan
tap round.
Simmons.
Money in the bank.
Let's go.
Girl, I bust a wa-
Jamming with Tamieka Smith today on Purpose Pod. Hey.
Me see wall up all a fashion monkey.
What?
Grease like girl, I go a ride a donkey.
Hey.
You a broke, still come a dancing. Some
Hey.
a borrow girl money, cause them broke.
Sure, we might go to the club after this.
More than you nice to me too. Met Obama, you be like.
Oh, speaking of clubs, if you're in Miami, drop by Sea Level. I'm on the rooftop every Saturday. Here we go. What? That's located at the Clevelander Hotel on South Beach, 10th Street. Just go to South Beach, you'll find it. Hey, hey, hey. Yo, Alan, hope you have fun. I'm glad to be back. But I think it's time for that 10-second, excuse me, not 10, but 30-second countdown. Hey, I'm your D.
are now listening to the Purpose Pod, hosted by Alan Levi Simmons. This podcast is a platform to give listeners an inside perspective on purpose, business, and life experiences. If you're interested in finding purpose or discovering paths that could lead you into your purposeful life, this is the podcast for you. Thank you for tuning in. It's time for the Purpose Pod.
What's up, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls? Welcome back to another episode of the Purpose Pod. I am your host, Alan Levi Simmons. This is episode 14 of the Purpose Pod. Holla at me if you hear me. Man, if y'all knew what I was doing in the background, y'all be like, this boy is something else. I'm telling you, I've been back here doing cartwheels, backflips, and everything, man, just to get things right for Tamieka Smith. You know what? It's so crazy, man. Like, I just feel like this is going to be such a great interview that, you know, all the forces in the world are trying to stop us from this greatness. So I am just thankful to have this opportunity to bring on Tamieka Smith. But before I do that, let's just thank DJ Davi for putting on that awesome mix. DJ Davi, we really do appreciate you, brother. We really do appreciate you. And shout out to Scarlett. Yo, we thank God for your life. We thank God. I pray that God covers your daughter and your wife and your family. I pray that God blesses you guys. And I am very thankful for you all today. So thank you, DJ Davi. Kara, thank you. Scarlett, thank you as well. We love y'all. So I am going to do this here. So let me show y'all who I'm interviewing today. If you did not know, we're going to discuss my journey from trauma to purpose. And I have with me my next guest, Tamieka Smith. She is an Abundance Cultivator Consultant who empowers dreamers to become doers of the world while unapologetically allowing their light to shine in a dark world. Tamieka Smith is a 3-time author, certified life coach, transformation speaker, self-publishing consultant. Man, look, she is the woman that you need to know. I'm telling you guys, she has a story. She has a foundation. So let's bring on Tamieka Smith.
Hey!
Get this out of the way. There we go. Bam. Tamieka Smith, welcome to the Purpose Pod.
Hello. And shout out to Antonio. And thank you so much, Alan and DJ Davi and Protection. I agree on your family, because that was just an amazing testimony within itself. So I'm just so happy to be here tonight.
I'm thankful for you. I'm thankful to dive into this conversation. I'm over here slipping off my chair because I'm ready to dive into this conversation. So let me get situated real quick. But Antonio, you mentioned Antonio. He's on here. Appreciate the connect. Antonio, he was on. You guys remember episode 13. So Antonio Santura, y'all check him out as well. Dope individual, very talented brother there. He's a publicist. So y'all make sure y'all check him out. Antonio, we appreciate you as well. So let's go ahead and jump into this right here. Let me get my stuff together. Man, how are you doing today, Tamieka? Like it's been what's today? Tuesday? Yeah.
It's just Tuesday. And hello, November, the second day of November. And it's just like, okay, we just gonna dive right on into this month. So it's just like, okay.
It just came out of nowhere. Like October, you know, I feel like at this point where we're virtual, well, I'm virtual working from home and stuff. So it's like everything is compiled together, and it's just like, okay, I run errands, I go back to work. I don't know. It's not like you can leave home and go to work right now, you know, so it's different.
It is. It's different times, and you know, we just rolling with the sail and just keeping it moving and adjusting.
Exactly. So with COVID last year, how was it for you? Like, what was it like, you know, when they had the stay at home, you know, Miranda and stuff? Like, what was it like, or order?
I mean, it was madness, just like, you know, everything else and everybody, you know, was dealing with. And with the kids and adjusting to that. And I had a big move. I moved into a house in April. Okay. And we bless God.
Right.
So, and then I quit my job. And so it's been a roller coaster for me. And then with the COVID illness itself, it's just like being affected, indirectly. And it's just, it makes you think about what's really important. It was really introspective, and it's still introspective right now.
Yeah. Did you have any like paradigm shift about life? Like, did you, like, while going through COVID and seeing that people were dying? I've lost some friends. I had caught COVID in December. Me and my wife did. We got over it. But just seeing how it impacted everybody's lives, did it give you a shift in your mindset when you looked at life?
Absolutely. And it was just like pandemics within pandemics, like it was a racial divide, and it was so many things going on. It's just like, okay, it makes you want to think about, it was really intentional for me. The relationships, and some relationships had to go away. And not being like a negative in a sense, but just being more like, okay, what do I value? And then just going from there about life, because it's so precious. And then when you're seeing so much death, and hope in humanity it should be at an all-time high. So,
You're right. Like the whole thing with racial rights and stuff, and it's crazy that we're that's in our vocabulary, that's something that we're talking about, the racial divide, police brutality. These, if you look back in the news clips back in the 60s, the 50s, like 70s, you would see the same kind of information floating about, but it wasn't worldwide the way it is right now. So the World Wide Web is connecting everyone, and you're seeing what's happening in Charleston or Louisiana or Chicago, right? So we're being faced with trauma. I feel like we're seeing a bunch of traumatic events, people getting shot, people getting ran over, people getting robbed, and it's becoming a norm. What do you think about that? Like you being a mother of two boys, teenage boys, how do you feel about that?
Yeah, because I had this conversation with my mother earlier that we've become so desensitized to the violence. And it's like some of us have lost having empathy for other people. And I've had those conversations with my sons, and I've even, been out there marching with people against police brutality here in Durham, North Carolina. So it's very near and dear to my heart. And it may not be my son, but it could have been my son in certain situations. So just equipping them and for them to be cultured around different environments is really, really important.
Yeah. So, and that is important, being around different environments and being cultured in it. Like, so a part of that culturedness, is it still keeping their, blackness, or how do you teach your sons to be young black men?
Well, yeah, so it's not like they're singing like I'm bigly black from
No, I know that. Yeah, but I was saying, like, with the way culture is right now, teaching your young men how to be aware of their own culture. Like me, like I go outside and I'm wearing all black and a hoodie, and I don't have my glasses on, and I'm already aware of what my culture is representing based on what society sees me as a black man. Are your sons aware of that kind of,
I've taught them earlier. And a few years ago, we was on a Disney trip, and we wasn't too far from Sanford, Florida. So I took them to the place and had the conversations about Trayvon Martin, and we went around where it happened, and they had a museum. And so it's very important for them to know, and not to go into the world when I'm not around and not be aware of certain things. And I've had, a run-in with the police, and they were with me. So for them to see firsthand how to handle police when you get pulled over, it gives them a better perspective as well.
True. I'm glad. And I know, so folks, we'll dive into the conversation, y'all. We're just warming up, having a discussion. This is the first time we've ever had like a real conversation like this. So, and I love having talks like this. Because this is current. This is what's happening right now. We have what we've been through. We have what we're to go through. But right now, this is the season that we're in where COVID deaths, traumatic experiences are happening. So I'm glad for one that you're showing your boys how to, get pulled over. It's like how to get pulled over. We need a tutorial because I see people getting out of their car. I see people yelling. I see people cursing. I see people making sudden movements. And I'm like, no, don't do it. Right.
Please
So
don't, right.
I think a lot of people are not educated on how to deal with the police. And sometimes you can't help how those officers act or react
Exactly.
to your skin color.
Right.
Because your skin color could be a threat before you even open your mouth. So
Mhm.
real talk, that's real talk right there. And a lot of people have gone through traumatic experience with police officers. So we're on the trauma base tonight, and I'm here because of your story and my story. Like I have my own traumatic experience, and then you have your own experience with trauma.
Right.
So I wanted to go into this part since we're here already. Could you go ahead and let people know what is your victorious story that you're standing on top of the mountain now. But if we go back to 2010, if we go back
Mhm.
that way, tell them what was Tamieka Smith facing during that time.
Wow. So back in 2010, I was making a decision to leave an abusive relationship that was nearly 5 years. And it was not only physical, it was emotional, it was spiritual. It was so many different dynamics than just the physical. A lot of people, they get into the physical as domestic violence, but it was a relationship that, we see the flags by hindsight. And I left that situation, was in a shelter for 10 months, had to regain financial stability, went to therapy. You can love God and talk to a therapist too. I'm a strong advocate in that.
Yep.
And just dealing with the post-traumatic stress and realizing that not only did I go through it, but, my family, them dealing with it and asking so many questions, and then just really learning how to handle my emotions from going through that.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that, Tamieka. And I know that there may be listeners out there or people who have family members or friends who are in that situation right now, especially amid COVID. We'll get into that in a little bit as well. But with your story, I wanted to ask you, so there are people who are in that situation right now where, it may not just be physical. It may not be physical. It may be emotional, mental. There's a lot of things that happen in the home. What advice would you have for women and men? Because some men go through that as well. The domestic violence. It's not always the man doing the abusing. Sometimes it's the other way around. And especially with relationships now, it could be two male partners, two female partners. So let's not put the male at the at the tip of the spear, and say shame on men. But men do need to get it together when it comes to communicating with the opposite sex or same sex. So what advice would you tell women right now, since that is your story? What advice would you tell women who are in the same situation that you were in? How could they prepare to move out or prepare to leave?
Yeah, and I appreciate that you brought some humanity to that, because it's not just a hetero type of relationship, but anyone that is dealing with that type of relationship. I pray that you just make a decision, because it takes an average of 7 times to leave domestic violence. And every time you go back, it gets worse. It intensifies. The abuse did. And it took me a couple times to leave that situation. I know a lot of times the control of the money can be where you feel like you don't know how to get out of that situation. Learn your resources, have a stash, someone that you might can trust to have money on the side. We didn't have all the cash apps and all that back then. And so it was just, with me, it was just making a decision. It went from me just learning that I cannot save a person that do not want to save themselves.
True.
And I wanted to live. And I felt like I wouldn't see my kids grow by being there. Because it went to the point of strangulation.
Wow.
So for anyone that is dealing with it right now, because the numbers have increased since COVID, because with all the stressors of life and everything that's going on, like we were talking about earlier, you're in a house with someone and you could be feeling like you're in a living hell.
Right.
So it could be very fearful because you don't know what's on the other side of getting out of an abuse of relationship. You might end up being in the shelter, and it's okay. It's just temporary. But your life is worth fighting for, so you just have to fight.
Come on. I love that. And you said it, your life is worth fighting for. And back to where you said, like, you got to realize when you can't save someone, right? Like you have to realize when they're beyond saving, and saving may not be your job. Your job is supposed to be their lover, their confidant, their friend, their partner. But then when they abuse the relationship, that's when they abuse the trust and abuse the even protection, because a lot of times people are seeing in relationships, one's the protector, provider, and you mentioned about having a stash, right? When that provider is the one that is abusing, that person that is in the relationship feels like, I can't leave because I don't have anything out there and I don't want to be homeless. I don't want to be in a shelter. But like you said, it's a season. That's a season, and hopefully, some people have the family that surrounded them, but nowadays it's really slim to see that family taking family, because a lot of people are on the islands right now, and there's no longer big grandma raising up the whole family. And then the second part you said was you wanted to live. Could you go into that? Like, even with going through traumatic experiences in general, choosing to live is something that's very powerful. Like, how did you go about making that decision?
Yeah, so I saw more cases on the news. And I don't know if you remember some years back where a woman was at Duke and her boyfriend or husband just shot her. And it happened to be a friend of my grandmother's daughter. So I was just like, I definitely don't want that to be my case.
Yeah.
And I was just like, I want to live. And I know I got fed up and I would just sit and take the abuse, because you can kind of feel like when you're in it, even though it sounds crazy, you kind of know what triggers them, and you just sit there and deal with it. And it's just like, I just had enough. And I'm like, what's going on? I'm like, what happened to you in your childhood?
Right.
For you to hurt me, because the saying hurt people. And he wasn't smoking or drinking. I know it was definitely mental for you to do that to someone and torment them the way that he did. So it's just like, I can't fix you. Yeah, you got, when you're sick and tired, you just sick and tired, and that's when you make a decision. So you just have to go.
That's a powerful move right there. It seems like it's not a powerful move when people look at it. It's like, oh, why don't you just stay, work it out, figure it out, and people, because they're not there, they're not taking the blows, they're not taking the verbal abuse, so they could easily say, stay. But when it's time to go, it's time to go, right? Because your life is on the line. Your tomorrow is at stake, right? Because you don't know, like you say, you can't control, like that person could switch, all the ways from 0 to 100, and they might one day do the utmost. I know that there's been a lot of children suffering because of the violence that is going on between the parents, right? Do you feel that, I don't want to get into your children, but in general, do you feel that children suffer traumatically as well from those domestic violence situations? And how could parents help cultivate their minds and get them healed from the trauma?
I'm a strong advocate in therapy, speaking to people that you trust and knowing that your voice matters. So many people, when I was dealing with my situation, I was in it because of guilt, shame, and I was in a depression, of course. And so in community, community is everything. And when you have community, it's like an offense against the violence. That's a good defense that you have when you have community, because when you are isolated, and when they say it's the devil's playground, it's a devil's playground. When you have stuff going on mentally, and you don't have people telling you, oh, don't listen to what that person is telling you. Oh, nobody will want you after having 2 kids, and you'll never amount to anything, and you won't ever just live.
Yeah.
You have someone like I did telling, oh, if you leave, I'm going to plant some drugs on you. I'm like, you would really do that to the mother of your child? You're crazy.
Right. It's real.
Yeah.
And wow, you dropping some bombs. I snap when you see me snapping, Tamieka, don't stop. I'm just rocking with you, girl. It look like everybody else is rocking with you too. So, and you know, is the craziest thing is that those people, they use that as a control to tell you, oh, if you do this, I'm going to plant drugs on you. I had someone tell me in the relationship, if you go in my house, because I got put out the house, if you go in my house, I'll call the police and tell them you hit me. And I was like, what? Like that, because that person was very controlling over their home, over me, over everything. Right. And they said that they would call the cops on me because I hit them. And I was like, I never in my life would ever do that. You know what I mean? So like, it was just so crazy to think that people would go that far. And it wasn't, so for me, it wasn't a physical abuse thing. It was somebody that was being manipulative and the verbal abuse. Right. So like I said, men go through it too, right? So Tamieka, I am definitely thankful that you didn't allow the seasons to stop you from going into your promised land, you know. And I see, like, when DJ Davi, he was like, yo, yeah, she's the girl. Like, this is the lady that you guys need to know, because you're a 3-time author, right? So you go from the traumatic experience and being a mother. It wasn't just like you were going through it by yourself. You have 2 boys. So how did you find the courage to get through it with your sons? Because we're leading into it. I'm gonna get from there in a little bit. I gotta stay in the trauma some, because there's a lot of people who can't get out of it. They're in the mud and their tires are spinning. So finding the courage to get out of it with your boys, not just by yourself. How do you maintain your motherhood? How do you maintain that sanity of being a mother while making this transition?
Right, and that's a great question, because you know, when I had my firstborn, I was telling him, you know, I'm going to take care of you. And that's just been a life duty, and to give them nuggets and for them to be equipped for the world as young Black men, and for them to know that mom gave her all. You know, dad, and I still don't talk negative about, you know, their father. They know what happened. And so if he chose not to have a relationship, and it's also a safety issue, they understand. We have men around with the community in my family. So we have men around, so they can know what it is to be a good man. Yeah.
I like that. Come on now. Y'all, I hope y'all listening and writing down. So y'all better get that community, get that community. No matter where you are right now in life, whatever you're going through, you need a community. You can't do this by yourself, and you shouldn't do this by yourself.
Right.
So Tamieka, can I ask you, can you just give a message to those who are out there being the abusers? Like, what would you say to the abusers out there, you know, to help them see what they're doing?
For them to take a good look in the mirror of themselves and go back to that mental image that they had, or the visual image, I should say, of when they felt like it was okay to hurt someone else, and heal from that, because this is a worldwide issue when it comes to domestic violence. It has no barriers when it comes to class, from race, from demographic, from your sexual preference, whatever. So if we have better relationships in the family, then we can have stronger communities. We can have people actually loving each other as they supposed to.
Right.
Love your neighbor as you love yourself. If you really love yourself,
come on to me. But go ahead.
This world can be a better place. A lot of people are hating and projecting their hate onto other people, not just when it comes to domestic violence, but as a whole. Love, that's a ministry.
Yep, it is. Come on, love it. Hey, look, and Jay Dwayne Garnett's on here. He love is terrible. You know, that's my boy. He was on here as well. But love is a ministry. Come on, like it. I'm thank you for doing that. Thank you so much. And I hope that whoever heard that, if you know somebody that is that person that needs that message, please share that message with them. Make sure that you don't pat people on their back. When you know, because come on, Tamieka, you know what goes on in his house stays in his house, right? Can you talk about that real quick?
Yeah, because that's funny you said that, because I was speaking before an engagement. It's just like, that is so demonic.
Yeah,
we would have open conversations with the big mamas, with the aunties. I didn't realize that some of family members were dealing with domestic violence until I was in the courtroom getting the order of protection. Okay, right. That's interesting. Could we have a conversation? Can you know what's going on? Let's not sneak stuff under the rug. And you have weird family members doing stuff. Can we speak about it? And stop having these dysfunctional cycles that's going on in families so we can really get healed?
So that's a worldwide pandemic then. What's going on in the family?
Exactly. What's going on in the family. And that's why therapists are, they're being used at an all-time high, because when you're stuck in the house and you're stuck with yourself, which a lot of people, they busy themselves being around other people all the time. There's people I know that's still uncomfortable going out to eat when it was okay to go out to eat by yourself. And that's strange to me. So it's real. We have to be real with ourselves, and that's taking like Michael Jackson said, looking at the man or the woman in the mirror.
Come on. You got to search.
Yeah.
You got to search. You got to ask yourself questions. I was at the car wash yesterday or the other day, one of those days. I was at the car wash though. And I was washing my car as usual by hand. I don't go through the little machine. I was washing it, because it's my therapy. And when I was washing the car, Tamieka, my mind was blank. I wasn't thinking about, like, you're talking to yourself in your head. You got a bunch of things going on. Like, I got to do this. I got to do this. Right? So like, there was nothing going on in my head. And I'm sitting here washing the car. And I started talking to myself. I was like, Alan, are you happy? I said, Alan, is there something you need to do better? Like, do you need to do better? Or like, hey, are you making sure that you're not complaining if your wife says, go to the store and get this? Are you just getting up and do it? I've been trying to practice more of doing that, instead of causing an offense, by me being lazy or me not being considerate. I try to be, what is it called? I try to think before it comes.
Right. Being proactive.
Yeah. Try to think before I act and stuff. So like, is there anything that you do for mental health as you were getting out of that abuse? Like, was there something that you did to clear your mind, or was it faith? What was it for you that kind of gave you that crutch?
It was definitely faith for me. That's the foundation for me, faith. And when I was in the shelter and my grandma would pick the boys up and have some time with them on Sundays, I would walk from where I was staying at, which was like a couple blocks, to a church, because my faith was strong. I would read Bibles in the little room that we had. And listening to music, and that was my outlet. And of course, writing is cathartic to me. So writing.
So we're in the writing. So writing is your therapy. Like mine was writing too, my poetry and stuff, and turning my pain into purpose, right? So with writing, were you already, so you've been writing since you were young, or was writing something you picked up amidst the abuse and afterwards, or what?
Yeah, used to do a little Dear Diary thing growing up. So I did a lot of writing growing up, and then just had a love for writing. And I remember reading I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings by Maya Angelou, and was like, I want to write my story one day, not even realizing the magnitude of what I was saying.
You spoke it.
Right. Spoken into an existence.
So when you spoke it, did you have any idea that you would be a 3-time author, or was it something like, oh, I would love to write something one day?
When I was telling my story to other people that were in the shelter, they would just look at me like, oh my God, you went through all that? You endured all that? And I was just like, okay, if this is having this kind of effect on people,
Right.
let me do something about that.
Yeah. So you put it in a couple of books.
And a couple, and I have some more going on.
Yeah. So could you go ahead and let's talk about your books and because I definitely want people to understand the services that you provide. So we dove into your story. We dove into so we're rising up the hill. We came from that trauma and we're going to purpose, right? Because we have to understand that you don't have to live in your trauma. You don't have to live there. You don't have to stay there. Whatever your trauma is, whether it's PTSD from war, or PTSD from an abuse, whatever that trauma is, you don't have to live there. So Tamieka and I are right here, two people who have experienced traumatic events, experiences. We're here, standing here as authors, as speakers, as coaches, people who are passionate about living. So I see it in you, Tamieka. I can see it in you. So for those, I know a lot of people who are wanting to write books, right? So what word of advice do you have for those people who have a story, but they're afraid to put it on paper?
When someone told me that's close to me that was going through abuse, and I didn't realize that my words were like oxygen to them.
Wow.
That was that. The exit strategies, the stuff that I went through, the red flags. And that's a part of my legacy is I went for it. I used the power of the pen with my voice and speaking and letting people know, hey, I went through it, even though it's taboo. You shouldn't only be concerned when it's your favorite football player or entertainer. It happens in everyday life. And it continues to happen. And we shouldn't have to wait until it goes to that level to care.
Come on.
Yeah. So it's definitely important for me to speak. And then when people come to me, it may not even be about abuse, but because I took that step, they're like, how did you do it? You have to walk out of fear.
Yeah. Come on. Walk
and
out
get
of
your
fear.
power back.
Walk out of fear and get your power back. I was waiting on the hashtag.
Hey.
Walk out of fear and get your power back. Oh my God. Put that on a t-shirt, Tamieka. I will buy it.
Really? Black Friday special.
You gotta put that on a t-shirt, Tamieka. If you don't, I am the man that will. Okay. Come on, because you have to get your power back and walk out of fear. Fear keeps us dormant. Fear keeps us from exceeding and excelling in those areas of life that we want to accomplish. So when did you recognize that you were out of fear?
Oh man, that's an ongoing thing, facing fear.
Yeah. So it's like a daily battle.
It can be at times when you're doing something new and even dating and dealing with certain things. It's like, okay, you just have to surrender. And with faith, that's the ultimate surrender. That's the universal sign when you have your hands up is to surrender. Yeah. So it's like having a trust fall. So when you have a trust fall and you realize that, hey, like it says, do you want to face everything and run? Are you going to rise to the occasion? What are you going to do with fear? Fear is not real. I mean, it feels real, but just like that meme of the little girl that's in the corner with the dinosaurs and she just like scared.
Yeah.
It's not real. It feels it's a barrier to your destiny.
Fear is a barrier to your destiny.
That's what fear is.
Oh, she writing a sermon, y'all. She over here practicing. She over here. Y'all hear her over here dropping bombs and stuff. Like, oh, let me get this out my purse. Fear. No, that's powerful. That's powerful. Excellent words, Brendan says. Excellent words.
Thank you.
So that's so powerful. I like the punchlines. You got them ready. Was that something you just came up with? That was nice.
It was off the dome.
Off the spirit right there. That's faith
right
there. So I think a lot of people at times struggle with their faith in the midst of traumatic experiences. Was there ever a time that you did struggle with your faith? Like, God, why me? Why God? What are you doing? Or were you always like, it's going to work out for my good?
Oh no, absolutely not. I was angry with God, and some people are afraid to say that, but I was angry.
Yeah.
I'm like, what have I done in my life
Mm-hmm.
to go through this kind of hell?
Yeah.
I was angry for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, go ahead. Keep talking. I want people to understand that in the midst, because I don't want to just sell purpose. I don't want to sell becoming an author like us. I don't want to sell the hope of walking in purpose, but I want people to understand that trauma and the rising from the trauma and the doubting God. Because I know what it's like. So can you go there and talk about how you were able to, quote unquote, reconcile your relationship with God?
It was just a matter of simply just letting the anxiety go and just breathing and being real. And not, I can wear a smile, but for someone to say, hey, you don't look like you went through domestic violence, it really have you think like, what does domestic violence look like?
Right.
Because from what I see and from what others tell me, there's guys in my inbox telling me, thank you for telling your story.
That's real.
Because I wouldn't have known.
Yeah.
You don't look like either.
You don't. Right.
But you're getting emasculated by a woman. And that's not okay. Because it can be verbal a lot of the times when it comes to women being abusive. And that's not okay either.
Yeah.
So when you are facing trauma, whatever your trauma or something that is making you feel like you're less than a person, is like, you do get introspective and like, okay, what have I done to deserve this? That's when you have to look at it like, okay, I'm here and recognize it and learn how to maneuver and back to the community. That, hey, it's okay. It's a season. It's not forever.
Yeah.
It's a gradual process. 11 years later, I was watching Made on Netflix. It triggered me.
Yeah.
It had me boohoo crying.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, okay, it was great for that to be seen on a large scale like that. But to know that you're going to get triggered and know how to deal with those emotions. Me, I like Haagen-Dazs ice cream.
Yeah.
So I gained a few pounds during this this whole COVID thing.
Yeah.
So when DJ Dobby was doing, I'm like, okay.
Oh, I saw you.
Right,
we got you on there too.
And dancing and doing things that I enjoy doing. So
yeah. Okay. So and I'm glad that you found your joy amidst the trauma, found your joy amidst of running towards your purpose. Because it people think that smiling is, just so normal that everybody does it every day, that when they wake up. But some days, like you said, it's like, why am I going through hell? Like, what did I do to bring about this in my life? And there were certain times where I didn't feel comfortable talking about it to everybody. So it was that like, oh, Alan's smiling, Alan's happy, he's dancing, he's the jokester. But at home, I'm drinking my liquor, I'm smoking my weed, I'm watching my porn, I'm just pretty much dumping all of this stuff inside of me, because it feels good. It feels temporary, feels good, right? And it took God, really intervening, not on a wrath of God, but the love of God.
Right.
The love of God really got me. So when I say the love of God, what does that bring to your mind or your spirit when I talk about the love of God?
The love of God is just like a father's embrace. Like, we can be so far away from God, and God is like, I don't care what you did. It's nothing that you are ever too far away from me. I'm still going to love you. It's not about sexual preference. Or some people be like, you're going to go to hell. Look, you don't have a hell to put me in. Let my life be the platform. Let my life be that pulpit. And let God be the judge of that.
Come on.
So our life, as we go through this journey, which we all are, how are you walking? A lot of people can talk the talk and know scripture, but what are you doing when nobody's looking? How is your integrity looking?
Yeah. Come on.
Who's going to be at your funeral? Who's going to have nice words to say about you?
Yeah.
How does your family feel about you?
Mm.
How are your kids going to look at you? Do they want you around when you're in your last days in that cycle of life? Wow. And get it right. It's not too late. If you have dysfunctional relationships, it can be fixed most times, and work at it. We're all works in progress. I never arrived, no matter what platform I'll be on.
Yeah. Come on. Real talk. Come on. Tamieka, keep it real, y'all. Y'all better make sure y'all follow her. Let me put up her Instagram and stuff. Y'all better make sure y'all follow her Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Tamieka Smith, and Twitter, Miss Wordsmith. And so you guys don't know all about Miss Wordsmith or why you chose that name, but could you tell them why you chose that name and how you're helping people tell their stories?
Yeah, so just doing a play on words, created Wordsmith Enterprises. And thank you so much for the follow and just making sure that I leave a good imprint on this earth and serving. That's another biblical standard and principle that we all have to do at some magnitude, whether it's at work, whether it's in our relationships, just making sure I serve the people and help people, coaching and writing out their stories, even editing a book. So I'm just happy with the partnerships that are coming and that has come. So it's great. It's a great experience for me. Yeah.
Awesome. And so thank y'all for following her. And so with publishing, right? So I've met a couple of people recently who have stories and they just don't think that they're stories of value to be written about, but they want to write, so do you recommend them still writing, or is there something they need to do before they write? Coming to self or whatever, is there a process that you need to get to before you actually start writing that book that holds all of your scars?
Yeah, because I'm a strong advocate in writing, and I would say if you have time to write all these statuses on Facebook, you definitely have time to write. It's just you're creating excuses. Right. and I say that to be funny, but seriously,
it's real talk.
If you have that much capacity to take that time, that's an ebook. And it's so easy to have that spirit of comparison. I see this person, they're doing their thing over here. Don't nobody want to listen to me. I've been there. I understand. Yeah. However, we all have a story and we have people assigned to us, whether we have 200 people following us, 2 people following us, right. 2 people can touch and agree and make some stuff pop. Yeah. So that's a part of your legacy. Those are your assigned people, whether it's 2,000, 2 million, you still have a platform. You are your brand before you have a business.
Come on. You better talk about it. Because you know what I mean? Because I you are your brand before anybody recognize you or sees you or hears about you. That's so powerful, Tamieka, because I waited a while for people to just be like, hey, Alan, I want you to come speak. I want you to write a book. I was like, you know what? Let me own myself. I think everybody wants to go out there and be owned. You need to own yourself, own your story, own your trauma, own your scars, right? And that's made me a more powerful being. When I go into spaces, I feel like the spaces shift to my vibe, to my energy, to my spirit, right? So how do you go about walking with pride and courage and dignity despite what you've been through?
Just letting go of that negative self-talk, especially when you are going into new levels that you haven't been before and you're dealing with the imposter syndrome, like you don't deserve to be in certain spaces and places and around people, and learning that you are valuable. Yeah. That's simply it. You're valuable.
You are valuable. We got t-shirts coming out from this podcast interview. I'm when I go back, I'm gonna make sure I jot down my notes so I can make sure I write them down. But I wanted to throw this out there while we have people's attention. Bam. Tamieka has an up and coming project on Black Friday for single mothers that that need an extra boost of motivation. Could you go ahead and talk about? I wanted to make sure you had time to talk about that in the middle of the
Thank
show
you.
while we're here. So go ahead and let them know about that.
Yeah, so I had a little mini sabbatical this year. So in my quiet time, I was doing some writing in Clubhouse, connected with Dr. Tavis Taylor, and it's the Single Mom Entrepreneur Club or Mompreneur Club. And she was having this anthology of people that want to tell their story. I've told my story so many times, but when you have it like that community, when you have a community and you looking at different stories, you'll get that motivation to get out of the bed, to get out of that depression, to get out of the situation that you're in, to be like, okay, this testimony from this person gives me the faith, the power to have a great ripple effect to help somebody else.
Yeah. That's awesome. So I hope that, so is there a limit? Is it virtual or?
So I am getting some copies and I'll have it available on my website for you to do pre-orders. So come on with it.
So
I'm
come on
ready.
with it so they can hit you up and get that information. So for people with single mothers, if you know some single mothers, make sure you point them to Tamieka Smith. Here's our IG once again. So I'm about to make this transition into walking in your purpose because we've climbed up the hill pretty good, I feel like. Before I do that, I did want to say those red flags. I didn't ask about those. So I wanted to make sure I did that. So how does a person know if they're getting into a relationship with someone, or, if they're in a relationship with someone who could be starting to show signs of domestic violence, but the red flags, what do those red flags look like?
So the red flags, okay. So someone that want to just rush into everything and want to move really, really fast. That's a flag on the play. And they're like, why we gotta take our time? And well, what's the rush? What are you hiding? That's a part of deception. Someone that doesn't want to move at a decent rate. And they immediately what's called love bombs, when they're giving you all this attention and saying all the right words you want to hear. And there's just, okay, I'm getting all this attention and you doing all the right things. And something I say now, who sent you?
Right.
Who
sent you?
Right. So you have to just pay attention to people, their relationships, and with me, his mother was schizophrenic. And so it's just like, you really have to like know who you're dealing with and who's around, the person, because that can trigger certain things. And with dealing with, mental illness, that's very important to know those kind of things. And if they're very defensive, if they want to have joint bank accounts all of a sudden, if they're taking you from church or don't want you to go to church. I know my children's father hated me to go to church, but that was my place of refuge. So,
the control.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay. So I hope that you guys jotted that down because those are real signs right there. Like they start showing the your mind thing. And then once you think that you can control someone, then it allows you to believe that you could do whatever you want with them. You could hit them, you could yell at them, you could do whatever you want, right? That's somebody who has a lack of self-control, right? So yeah, that's real. So thank you for sharing those red flags. We needed that. So we're running into our finding your purpose, and I wanted to ask you, what does purpose mean to you?
Purpose means to me that's giving life to something. That's the fruit in planting a seed that can be left beyond my years. And what makes me smile, and I mean, it looks different for other people, but for purpose for me is being able to be proud of the work that I'm doing, whether it's working at a job, serving in my home, writing a book, serving a client. Is just simply serving.
Yeah, I like that. You kind of, when you said, when you're doing like the things that you're doing right now, so writing a book, serving, right? that's purpose. I feel like a lot of people look outside of where they are right now and like, oh, there's more, you know, they're living for the future purpose instead of the purpose that they can serve right now.
It's
Have you ever
so
been in that place? And,
crazy.
what do
Like
you think about
the
that?
destiny, I saw some kind of post saying like it's like a destiny on to the next. When I get my job, when I get married, and when you get there, it's like, okay, like I say all the time, a lot of people, they like the marriage, but the wedding, but the wedding is an event. The marriage is the work.
Right.
I'm not there yet, but I'm like, okay,
yeah,
that's the work. And I commend anyone that's, you know, in a relationship or in a marriage, because that's work.
That's the work.
And that's where you get tested in your own purpose, when you have these certain titles and how you can steward that well. That speaks volumes of who you are as a person.
Yeah.
You can steward those different titles and not just be walking around here like a chicken with your head cut off because I want to be the next great thing. And you are the next great thing right now. So,
all right.
Listen, church, on tonight.
Amen. Come on. I love it. That's why fairy tales end after the wedding. That's a good one. That was funny. And that's real talk though. They always take it to the wedding and bam, it's over. But real. So hold on, sorry, that threw me off.
That was funny.
That was real good. So with purpose, right? Like I like how you're talking about purpose, because you're living in the now versus like that future, like you said, on to the next. How do you keep yourself grounded in your purpose? Like, how do you keep yourself grounded while you're serving other people?
I have great people that I can vent to.
Yeah. So that community, back to the community.
Yeah, back to the community. I have no problem getting off of social media because I know it's a distraction for me. I'm an introvert, so I like to be home. I like to binge watch on certain things and reading. So those are my things that I enjoy doing. So and traveling, I haven't traveled nearly as much as I used to in traveling as well. Okay. And let's see here. We're on to purpose. And thank you everybody who's tuning in. Please make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Follow Tamieka, DJ Davi, The Purpose Pod, Alan Levi Simmons. Make sure you do all of that. Follow us, please. And make sure you comment and share this video. It will bless somebody's life. Share this video. All right. So bam, what would you tell someone who is trying to discover their purpose or says they have no purpose? Wow. So for someone to trying to discover their purpose, I would say, what is that thing that people always come to you about and that you can do with your eyes closed? That's a part of your purpose. That's giving you the answers that you seeking out. It's all within us already. We just have to be the one to acknowledge what it is that we can do to help somebody else. And when it comes to somebody saying, I don't have purpose, you're living, you're existing. Come on. You have purpose. You have purpose. Thank you. That's where you know somebody real. When you tell somebody that, like, hey, don't worry about what you don't have. Like, you have purpose as you are, the limbs, your body, and whatever shape your condition your body is in, as long as you have life, you have purpose. So that's a powerful thing. Is that something that, like, do you coach your so is it just writing coaching, or do you coach the writers through life as well? Life coaching too, right? Yes. Do you do that with your authors though? Like, I know you do life coaching, but do you do it with the authors as well? Yes, because you're facing fear, you're facing rejection, you're facing so many things, and worried about the opinions of other people. When you're writing a story. So it's like, okay, you have to come out of that and think about the person that needs, or the people that needs it the most. Yeah. Put it into perspective. And I'm one of those people that, okay, I'll give you a few minutes to vent,
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, what are we going to do about it? We have to be solution based. If God has created us to be problem solvers, let's solve that problem and help other people, because you're not the only person that's going through this. And for us to be stuck in a corner, woe is me, that's not helping you or anyone else.
No, sir. I ain't adding to that. That's real. That's real. So from depression, let me see here. Yeah. So from depression, PTSD, brief residency at a shelter, financial instability, to college educated, intercessor, and loving mother, she wears a smile to bring joy to anyone in her presence. So like I quoted that because it sums up who you are, you know, from depression, PTSD, brief residency at a shelter, financial instability. Those are things that a lot of people wrestle with trauma and without trauma. You know, the financial instability, you know, going through the depressions, you know, what can we do in this season of COVID, you know, the everything else that's happening in the world with the government, you know, to not end up in, I guess, the grave? Like, you know, how do we not commit suicide, you know, while we're going through that PTSD, the financial instability? How do we stay alive right there?
Man, Alan, that's so good, because we can be self-sabotagers to our next level. Being financially irresponsible. I've had my car repossessed. I've been evicted in these last 11 years. I mean, I call myself the queen of the bounce back, but we don't have to keep going through. We have to add on to the trauma that we already been through, is what I'm basically saying.
Yeah.
And for us to be able to get to a place where we know that we deserve to be in a room, we deserve healthy relationships, we deserve having some money in a bank account when it's needed, and be able to just simply exist, that's purpose within itself. Not waiting for accolades or waiting for the applause of men and women, because they can love you one day and hate you the next. That's a very slippery slope to go on. Very slippery. So doing those little things helps. It really does.
Yeah, that's real. Because like we could keep attaching ourselves to trauma, right? Going back to trauma. And we're like, why is my life this way? And, you know, we get the car that we can't afford, or we get the place that we shouldn't be buying. You know, like we do certain things, and, you know, amidst our trauma, we do certain things, we make bad decisions. And then that creates a whole nother traumatic experience, you know. So I was like that. I was taking out loans. I was going through depression, taking out loans, buying cigarettes, buying alcohol, like just spending my money, and then I was broke. So like that's a real thing. So I hope that whoever's going through I call it the valley experience, right? If you're going through the valley experience, please make sure that you're making good decisions. And it goes back to what Tamieka said, community. Your community will tell you if you're not making the right decisions. A good community will. So all right, so we're moving along. Bam, bam, bam. So is there something about your books that you would like to share with us right now? You know, I want to give you that opportunity as well. Is there something that you would like to share with the audience? Who would it be for? So you could go ahead and make that sale right there.
Yeah. So I mean, Vanna White going on. So Shattering the Glasshouse. This is the first book, and this is about the story of domestic violence and looking at the red sign with the red flags, and just giving that inspiration to someone. So that's the first book. That's the first book, baby, that I have. Shattering the Glasshouse, a memoir. It's available on Wordsmith Enterprises and Wordsmith Enterprises .business. That's the website. And then my second book is Gratitude, which is a 31-day affirmation and devotional guide, and it even has space for you to write notes, and that's really good. And this is actually one of the favorites, one of the top sellers. And then I have GloUpGirl. That's the third book, and that is a 21-day guide to living your best life after toxic relationships. So you don't have to keep going through those same crazy cycles of just the self-sabotage that I was talking about, finding yourself in certain situations where you don't want to live your best life, or you don't feel like you deserve to have the best life because of past trauma. That was a chapter. Mine just happened to be a few books that I wrote about.
Come on.
So
Well, congratulations first and foremost.
Thank you.
On that. That's dope. So can they go to like one specific place to get all 3 books?
Yeah, so it is available on Amazon. You can get them there, and they're also on my website.
Okay, and your website is going across wordsmithenterprises.business, right?
Yep, that's it.
Okay, cool. All right, so we're coming towards the end, and I have my last final questions for you, and I hope that you've enjoyed your time here on the Purpose Pod.
I've enjoyed this. The hour went by so fast.
It did, right? It did, and I'm trying to make sure I got the time right too. So we good on the money. I ain't want to see. I don't want to keep you in my church too long. You be like, I never want to go back there.
Look, I grew up in the Baptist church. I don't do them all day churches.
You know, the pastor be like, we're about to close. He'd be like, we're about to close now. We're about to close, and then he started up something else. But yeah, so so here my last question, my favorite question is, what do you want your legacy to be?
That's another good one. That I gave my best. I served to the best of my ability. I served with excellence.
Yeah.
And I did a good work. So for God to say, job well done, Tamieka.
Yeah. And I believe he will. I mean, like, when, you see the light of God on people, you can see, like, you're glowing. You're like, the glow up, sis, is real. She said, I'm glowing, girl. The glow up, right? So I'm definitely going to order those. You know what? So I'm going to do a giveaway. So I'll buy all 3, and I'm going to do a giveaway. So people stay tuned throughout social media. I'll do a giveaway, and I'll give away 3 books.
And they'll have signed copies.
Okay, so we'll have them signed too then, okay? Yeah. So we'll do that. So y'all stay tuned though. So when I start sharing these snippets, stay tuned and be prepared to answer a question or something. Make sure so whoever's following Tamieka, so Antoine Speller, he followed you first. So I want to make sure that he gets a book, and he can gift it, or you can keep it and read it and then gift it. So we're going to do that. But because I definitely appreciate you guys' support. Tamieka, so how can we support you in whatever manner? Like, what do you need right now and in this season? And so how could we help?
You know what? I have to learn how to receive. So that just like, I'm a giver. So it's like, okay, I don't need nothing. I'm good. I want to build a good team. I don't want to have burnout like I experienced earlier this year.
Yeah.
So I know that a lot of people are coming to me with stories, and it's just only one Tamieka in Wordsmith Enterprises. So I have, like you had Antonio Santoro, he's my publicist.
Right.
So anybody that want to do social media, photo shoots, I want to have, that's in my prayers, to have a good, solid team, a good, trusted team.
Yeah.
And like-minded. So that's how you support me.
Okay, so we're gonna and when I play this on my Instagram, I'll make a snippet of this section right here of saying what you need. So hopefully somebody will respond to that. And not hopefully, but we all know that everything works together for our good, right? So I believe that you already have the knowledge of what you need. So now he will provide, so once you recognize what you need, sometimes we walk around and we don't even know what we need. Because we have all of these wants, we have all of these desires, right? So, but yeah, so I go to preach. Like I said, I start preaching.
Word.
Yeah, I am definitely inspired by your story. I definitely appreciate it because I have family members and friends who have been in similar situations, and some people may be heading into this similar situation. So I'm thankful for your story and your boldness to share your story. And I hope that those who are listening tonight and those who watch the replay and see the snippets, that they're inspired by your story. Do you have a last word for the people for tonight? Do you want to leave us with something amazing, powerful, or sad? Whatever you want to do, just go ahead and drop a liner on us. Go ahead. I know
drop a word, drop the ball, drop some jewels. I know it's a lot of jewels to pick up through this. And I thank you so much Alan, for allowing me to share the platform, and DJ Davi. And my final words would be to do what it is that you're called to do without worrying about what other people are going to think about you. What do you think about you? And just walk it out with confidence, straighten your bag and just do it and learn how to do it and invest and partner with people that know what you need and be in a place where you are coachable to get that level of success that you want, if you really want it.
That's real. That's real. So y'all heard it from the mouth of the great one, the overcomer. So Tamieka, I really do appreciate you once again, and I'll make sure that I share the links to the books and people are able to see you. I will be sharing snippets, so everybody stay tuned. Please make sure you go follow Tamieka. I'm gonna put it up one more time while she's right here. Make sure you guys take a screenshot real quick. But it's Tamieka Smith. So make sure you guys support her, follow her, let her know that you enjoyed her story, you enjoyed her openness. And just reach out, encourage her, because we need her to move forward in her purpose, on purpose, because people need Tamieka Smith and her story. So Tamieka Smith, I'm going to put you in the back office, but I'll be back with you in a few, okay?
Thank you so much.
All right. So ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, I hope you enjoyed the 10-minute mix with DJ Davi and my interview with Tamieka Smith. She is a powerful source. She's a powerful person. I hope that you guys plug in and connect with her. Single mothers, make sure you hit her up, and make sure you guys are out there following her on her Instagram, TikTok, Twitter. Okay. I'm going to do a few things real quick. So Petty Gigs, make sure you download Petty Gigs. My boys out there, they got gigs for you to do out here, Petty Gigs. And then make sure you tune in tomorrow to my webinar on Giving Hour with Sean Porter. He's a boxer. You guys got to check him out. Dr. Dwayne Cunningham. Y'all check him out as well. So we will be out there. And shout out to my boy, Victor Dura Jr. Make sure you guys check out Victor Dura Jr. If you're in Cowpens make sure you guys vote for Victor Dura Jr. Shout out to the people out there doing great things. And make sure you guys go watch the replay of this interview with Tamieka Smith. Make sure you guys go follow Tamieka Smith, support Tamieka Smith, buy all of her books, buy books for your cousin, sister, brother, uncle, auntie, buy books for the support, because we believe in our people. So I am your host, Alan Levi Simmons. This has been another episode of the Purpose Pod. Oh, next week, because I did an interview this week. Next week, I am interviewing James from Meaning Forge. He's on here tonight. James, I appreciate you. So James will be on the Purpose Pod next week, Tuesday. Make sure you guys tune in. We're going to have a great time on the Purpose Pod. So, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, have a good night. Peace.